Good morning and aloha snack bar to all of you out there. This is V, the Grill Economist, coming to you live. And the one and only Dennison of the Airways, CJ, we are breaking it down today, the entire global geopolitical paradigm, on another episode of Mornings with V. And CJ, the only morning show that is actually fun and entertaining to listen to while you actually learn something new. Ha! Without being scared. How do you like them apples? With that being said, guys, you can follow us on Twitter at the Rogue Money. Check us out on Facebook, Rogue Money, the Facebook, and also our main website, roguemoney.net, where the hard hitting news and information is put out there in full 2D, just 2D right there. It's 2D, but it's enough information that you can actually really appreciate it. Also, guys, follow us. I mean, check us out. Check out the podcast app. Okay, the podcasting over at Apple. We've got the Apple podcast. Just type in Rogue Money and voila, we are there. And if you have an Android device, you have an app like Pocket Cast. You can just look up Rogue Money and boom, we're there as well. If you have the Apple News app, type in Rogue Money, bam, we're there. So we're pretty much everywhere, and we're going to be even more places soon, guys. So get ready for that. With that being also said, we ask that you also check out if you're in debt, if you know somebody in debt, you're struggling with credit card bills, you need help. Check out my guys over at myfreedomnow.us. You can go on there right now. You can learn how to get the heck out of debt. They can get you out of debt no matter what the situation is: foreclosures, bankruptcy, student loans, whatever the heck it is that ails you. The guys that over at myfreedomnow.net can help you. It's a team that I'm heading up. So if you want to go over there and book a call with yours truly, we can get that done. So check it out, myfreedomnow.us, myfreedomnow.us. With that being said, CJ, what's going on this morning, bro?
I am pumped up and ready to go, V. We've got T minus 3 days here before the transition of power happens, and it can't happen soon enough, man.
Yes, soon. It's like 48 hours before skid mark is gone, my friend. 48 hours, and there'll be no more skid mark. Will be a skid mark in American history. I can't wait.
Right? Exactly. Yes.
I can't wait, man. What's the I guess what do they see parked outside the west side of the of Chicago of Washington, man? What do they see out
Yeah,
there?
the moving van and the moving truck is moving things in. They're getting prepped to move Obama into his new DC mansion.
Oh, a DC mansion. He's
Yeah,
done
this
well
guy's
for
getting
himself.
he's getting like a mansion everywhere. He's going to get one in California and Hollywood, so he can mingle with the elite in Hollywood.
Hmm.
Understandably so. I think he wants to keep his family in DC. I think the youngest one, is still in school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's buying this massive, mansion there in DC, just right outside of DC. But this thing's like 8,200 square feet, has 9.5 bathrooms.
Well, Skidmark, he does a lot of colonics, so he needs all those bathrooms. But go ahead.
Well, no, it's just amazing, when you think of his Chicago home that, was it Tony Resco? Resco, the embezzled
Oh
real estate
yeah.
person from Chicago, helped him. Here was this house in Chicago that was listing for probably, I think, at least probably half a mil or three-quarter of a mil. And, Obama, they couldn't afford it back then. But magically enough, Resco was able to sell it to Obama's for like $250,000. So,
Wow.
so it's just interesting to see how 8 years in the White House can accumulate so much wealth.
That's the only reason why you enter politics in the United States or in Europe or any Western country. You do this for self-aggrandizement. You do this to enrich yourself. You're not there for as a public servant. You're there to suck the teat off the public trough. You're here to fleece the sheep. You're here to screw everything up. That's why it's refreshing. You got a guy like Trump going in and saying, "Nope, I'm not even going to take a salary. I don't need it. I'm doing it for free." I mean, that is boss. That's absolute boss.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, considering Obama's trying to negotiate like a 30% pay increase before him, months before his departure.
a 30%. I mean, this guy's no shame. I mean, it's bad
No.
enough. It's bad enough that this guy is the White House golfer in chief, right? I
Oh
mean,
my gosh.
speaking of golfer in chief, how many golf games has this guy been into, CJ?
You know, it's the most amount of golf ever played in the history. This is out by Zierhead. So no president has played more golf than him than President Eisenhower. So he has racked up. Oh my God, let's see here. Trying to look at this number. Hang on here. Having a little tech issues. Do you have it opened up? How many holes does it say? How many rounds of golf does it say he played?
It says 24. Okay.
It's so many. It's so high they can't even report it.
They can't even. 800 rounds, man. No, wait. He blew out 800 rounds. If it was the annals of U.S. President Mr. Obama's final tally, he played 306 rounds of golf.
Wow. I haven't played like three rounds of golf in like the past 4 years. It's nice to be an Obama. Yeah, and did you see V where as soon as the inauguration's over, him and Michelle, you know, they just haven't vacation enough, so they're packing their bags and they're heading to Palm Springs for the weekend.
Good riddance, man. Good riddance. I mean, look at this guy. I mean, I'm just staggered by the stats here, CJ. 306 rounds of golf. 306 rounds of golf. He tortures the entire Middle East. He destabilizes Eastern Europe. He bombs the piss out of Africa. 8 nations are bombed to oblivion. 30,000 bombs are dropped, and he gives himself a Nobel Peace Prize, awards himself some sort of a commendation award from the Pentagon. He awards that to himself, some sort of commendation medal, and then he's asking for his 30% raise before he leaves office. This guy is incredible.
Yeah, you know, him and Biden, you know, with their bro romance, you know, they slap each other with their own awards, you know, as they're heading out the door because no one else will do it.
That's the thing. That's like me saying, and the award for the greatest economic analyst belongs to, and awarding myself. I'm far from the greatest economic analyst. What makes me good is I'm actually witty and I can simplify a lot of the crap that I see. But you know, it's asinine. Golf. That should be his new political slogan. It's just the O. Yeah, the Barack Obama O. You know, like they had on his campaign. Yeah, spell out golf. Just spell out golf. That's it. Okay. This guy, man.
Well, he did. I mean, even his departing, you know, party was filled with, you know, with Hollywood and these celebrities. I truly think that he has a what's an egomaniac, right? Or is that right? He's an egomaniac. You know, he envisions himself leaving the White House as a big time celebrity. That's how he envisions himself, and he tries to paint this perfect picture. And in the meantime, you know, yesterday they completely, you know, politicized MLK Day out the wazoo. It was just crazy the amount of backlash. You know, here they're trying to paint this narrative of Trump of being, you know, this racist, and look what he's doing on MLK Day. And now comes walking out from the Trump Towers. Who comes walking out?
MLK the third.
MLK the third, right? And so
the
media is
like, vote for Trump.
Yeah, and his niece did too, right? His niece did too. So obviously the media gets in front of him like, you know, so how did it go? How terrible was it? Tell us. He's like, this is a guy that legitimately cares about the inner city. Yep. And it was funny to watch that because it wasn't covered like in a whole, and nor is it in the MSM. But you know, that's why it's our important role to talk about those things. But you know, and again, why I'm talking about that right now is because Obama created that whole narrative. Obama created that whole narrative of you know, Trump being this racist and, you know, racially divide America. But good riddance. Go play your golf in Palm Springs, wherever you want to. Stay out of politics. If you know, if he wants to focus on the millennials and helping that age group, that you know that he wants to help them to come some realizations. Go be it, Obama. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, exactly, man. You know. Unreal. Good riddance, Barry. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. This guy was the definition of a mooch. He was the definition of a sleazebag. And he's the definition of a typical absolute far leftist who feels entitled to whatever the heck that he puts his grimy little fingers on. So, Barry Skidmark, goodbye to you, sir. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. And may you have fun cavorting with your obsolete and totally irrelevant Hollywood elitist friends. Jeez,
Yeah.
this way he won't wreck the world anymore. And you know, I mean,
Amen.
there's so many things going on in the world, CJ. I mean, you know, where do we begin? Where do we begin? I mean, there's a lot of market moves. There's a lot of geopolitical moves. I guess let's get into, you know, since we're on the domestic stuff, man. Let's get into some MAGA news, bro. Let's talk about GM. Let's talk about that, man.
Yeah, so pretty darn exciting. Yesterday GM announced that they plan on investing close to $1 billion in their U.S. factory. So innovation, technology, and this is going to create more than 1,000 jobs. So again, we continuously talk about this climate that's being created where people are excited that there's not going to be so much regulation coming at them from the EPA. People are getting excited that there's an actual chance that the corporate tax rate might be lowered, and that's building a lot of companies to say, wait a minute here, we've been sitting on this money for a while here. Maybe it is time to to re-engage with the U.S. economy. So this is huge. This is a huge announcement, in particular for the automobile industry that that's had to have bailouts. The last, what was it, what they call Government Motors, right? Less than 8 years ago when they were bailed out. So now here they're coming saying, what, it's time to invest in U.S. factories. It's time to make a commitment to U.S. manufacturing. And at the wake of President-elect Trump, is talking about, hey, listen, let's produce, let's get back to that made in the USA pride that should exist, and more importantly, let's keep jobs here in the U.S.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Because there's no reason for GM to be manufacturing. There was a time where it says what's good for GM is good for America. There's no reason for GM to be manufacturing overseas and bringing it back in here. It doesn't make any sense. It's all about making America great again, bringing back those jobs, getting those right trade agreements. And I'm telling you right now, in spite of all the rhetoric, there's going to be a lot of negotiating that China is going to be doing with us, because this is a whole new ballgame. Trump is not going to respect the whole one China policy. Trump's like, listen, let's be pragmatic here, because you guys have your butt hurt over some feelings of what happened, 50, 60 years ago. Y'all need to get over it and get moving on the right thing, because look, at the end of the day, it's about money. Money makes the world go round. At the end of the day, it's about commerce. It's about economics. Economics runs the world. Economics is applied to everything, even organized religion. What is organized religion? Organized religion is simply economics applied to politics. That's all it is. That's all it is. When you break it down, economics runs everything. That's why, we here at Rogue Money, we track economics, because that's just what we do. And this is a huge thing. And also, the fact that, BMW was about to build a plant in Mexico. Now, I promise you this, BMW, Bavarian Motor Works, will be getting a plant up and running somewhere in the United States. Probably another one in South Carolina, maybe even Tennessee, joining Volkswagen over there. We don't exactly know. But you know what? This is the shift. This is the absolute shift. And speaking of German cars, did you hear that insult that I think one of the ministers over in Germany has said? That instead of trying to hit BMW with tariffs, one of the ministers of Germany is like, well, the Americans just should build better cars. What? Did you hear that one, CJ?
I did read that, V. I did read that. Craziness.
I mean, what a joke. What a joke. I mean, I'm like, it's I don't know if this guy was thinking this is like the 1970s or 80s Cadillacs or whatnot, but Americans are building phenomenal cars. Okay, look, I am no fan, okay, of the Tesla, but it's at the end of the day, it's still the best electric vehicle out there that you can buy. Okay, not a fan. In fact, who's leading the EV, development right now is America. I mean, look at the Faraday Future FF91. That's Detroit Electric is around the corner as well. I mean, what is this guy talking about? I mean, Cadillac is coming out with some great products. Their V Series is a rival to anything from it's a serious competitor from BMW M, which I'm a lifelong fan of, to Mercedes AMG, to Audi's R cars. Hell, I mean, look how far the Corvette's been developed. Look at the freaking Ford GT. Oh my God!
Right, right.
You know what a gorgeous car, the freaking new Ford GT, amazing. You know, so I don't know what this guy's talking about. There, you know, so the whole thing is like, let's be honest here. You got to, it's a different game. It's a different game, and Volkswagen sees the handwriting on the wall. They're opening up more plants over here in the United States. And everybody else is going to be joining us, man. It is what it is, man. You know, and
Yeah,
it's
and it is a new ball game, and it goes right back to be the exact conversation that should be happening. That it's not the government's job to create job. It's not that's
No.
not their role. It's not the Federal Reserve's job to create jobs. That's not what they do. They create the climate that is correct for businesses to be started, create lower taxes. They have regulations that are in check. Yeah, we need to be mindful of certain things and consumer protection and things like that. But what we don't need to do is start putting these mandates overnight that, by the way, your car has to have 60 miles per gallon, or we're going to charge you, a lot more. You can't build that engine. Crazy things like that has really hindered U.S. manufacturing for the last several years.
Yep. Absolutely, man. I mean, it's a whole ball game. Everything's changed. We can't be out there allowing ourselves, gutting ourselves in order to pay these politicians. And that's what the whole thing that's sickened me the most, man, is these politicians were willing to sell out their own country, their own birthright of their grandkids, okay? So they can have a temporary little fortune here. It's unbelievable. Like here's an article I just pulled up on Autoblog. Okay, it says Trump turns his unpredictable ire towards German car makers, threatens 35% import tariff on both BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and VW Group. Handwriting's on the wall, man. Handwriting's on the wall. In response to Trump, Germany's deputy chancellor Angela Merkel said the U.S. car industry would have a bad awakening if all supply parts that aren't being built in the U.S. were suddenly come with a 35% tariff. This is how out of touch Merkel is. Okay, I just want to make this very clear. This is how out of touch Merkel is. Merkel, who cannot even accurately track the migrants that are in her own country, raping her own people. All of a sudden, this football with clipped hair is going to tell you, well, the U.S. car industry would have the bad awakening if all the parts that are being built in the U.S. were suddenly to come with a 35% tariff. I believe it would make the U.S. car industry weaker, worse, and more expensive. That's Merkel? Okay, Merkel. Most of the U.S. car electronics are actually, believe it or not, Mother Modi over here, it's actually produced here. It's actually made here. Okay, maybe apart from the Bosch engine electronic modules, which a handful of cars have, but apart from that, there's really much of nothing that's coming out of Germany, Murky. So we can hit you with a 35% tariff and be completely okay with it. In fact, we'll be totally fine by it.
Right.
But I mean, guess whose electronics the Germans are using? I know for a fact Mercedes-Benz is using a lot of electronic components from American firms. How's them apples working out for you? Jeez.
Well, not only that, she can go on record against these tariffs, but yet she can sign on for these sanctions against Russia that provides a lot of energy and other food items and everything to the entire EU bloc. But she can sign up for those things with no problem, B.
No problem at all. And she can get involved in those sanctions, the same sanctions that's costing Germany 600,000 jobs. 600,000 jobs because they want to go sanction Russia. And if this sanctioning continues, that 600,000 will be 6 million jobs because there's so many companies that are dependent upon Russia. I mean, London Paul said it best. I mean, Russia and Germany, they belong together, so ideologically similar. It's why the globalists have kept them apart for so long.
Right.
It's unbelievable. So here, Merkel's clueless. I mean, this woman has no idea what's going on in her own country. She has no idea. I mean, just to make an asinine statement, what would happen if 35% of parts were Most of those parts are produced here, you moron. I mean, you ever heard of Delphi? They're produced here. Jeez. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
huge. Delphi is huge for electronic components around the globe. So yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
Absolutely, man.
I think, again, that's the statement that she made was just absolutely crazy. But I did see, V, and I meant to send you this link where they had a G20 meeting, and because of the sanctions against Russia, Vladimir Putin wasn't able to attend. So they actually retitled the meeting to allow him to have a seat at the table at that. So that was kind of a slap in the face to the U.S.
Oh, man.
But anyway, that's a whole other story.
Good stuff. Good stuff. What else is on the radar, my man?
Well, I've seen a couple of very interesting reports and talking about what the last 8 years have done to the economy. We've seen a complete shift where people just don't grasp the amount of harm that the Obamacare, the Affordable Health Care Act, did to companies. And as much as they really had a good intention in mind, ensuring that people had insurance, they completely put in these restrictions and these guidelines and these tax penalties. And so what we've seen the last several years is just the millennials, and in particular the Black community, really struggle with all these jobs. So we have turned our economy into a part-time service-based industry, and there's some warning signs now that are starting to occur in not only the millennials. There's a report out that reported that on average their incomes were 20 to 30% below targets of where they should be at their anticipated stage of life versus their parents, which is huge, right? So if you think about that, where they say, hey, this is the first generation that's going to do worse than their parents. Well, it's happening. It's real. It truly is real. And now we have another report that came out that in particular talks about retirement. It looks specifically at pensions and 401ks. In this report, it talks about the U.S. demographics fee, and it maps out that over the next 30 years, that the number of people in the U.S. over the age of 65 is expected to double, while those 85 and up will triple. V. So,
Wow.
so long story short here, needless to say, the overall population growth of the United States is a fraction of what it should be, which is, in the millennials in particular. Think about it. People aren't getting married right now. People are
Right.
not having kids.
Right.
So this is going to crush the millennials. So if you start thinking about what's the age, 70 and a half, that you have to start taking your mandatory pension fund out.
Yeah.
And so basically, when you figure this out and you take a look at the amount of money that people are paying in to these pensions in their 401k, the money's not there. The money's not there. So now you're running that danger that these pensions and these funds are going to facing the aging population, right? That these funds are going to have to start coming out of that, and that's going to create a huge shockwave through that. It just, again, the next 20 years are going to be really tough for those pension funds, and how to recover those monies that are paid back into them. So again, they estimate that in this, that investors pulled out at least $9 billion from workplace retirement savings in 2013.
Yeah.
So the money's coming out, V. The money's coming out, and it's not being paid back in. So there's a huge warning sign right there in terms of just the age and the demographics.
I mean, we're bleeding out all over the place, man. We're bleeding out all over the place. I mean, thank God the intervention came in the form of Donald Trump. Thank God that the intervention has come in the form, I mean, globally, worldwide right now, with nationalistic movements who said enough is enough. We're tired of being fleeced. We're tired of being sucked dried. We're tired of being, having our lives dictated by a faceless, blind, useless, idiotic, moronic, backward bureaucracy that is so out of touch with reality. We're tired of it. And you know what? People are starting to push back because, something has to be done. And this is why London Paul highlighted it, that, Trump understands that there's a complete global realignment. That's why it's not business as usual. That's why this guy, and I made this point before, when me and Bix were debating about, is it going to be a fast pull? Is it going to be a slow pull? Should the market, should the switch be hit down the market right now, causing it to implode? And I said it should be a slow unwind, and the way you get around it is you got to retool your physical economy as quickly as possible. And I think that's what we're going to see happening. I think 2017. I think we're going to see a rapid industrialization of the United States in a rapid way. I think we're going to see 5 years of it of a boom in terms of economic reindustrialization. Now, during that boom, I also believe there's going to be a devaluation of the currency, which has to happen. We cannot maintain this idiotic, obsolete concept of world reserve currency. We don't need it. It's a yoke and a responsibility that we don't need. We don't need it. Okay, it was something that was enforced. Okay, people always asking, well, what's the dollar backed by? And most everybody's answer is, oh, it's backed by nothing. It's printed out of thin air. And you'd be half right. But the reality is, guys, the dollar is backed by something. It's backed by the full military might of the U.S. military. It's backed by the full power and might of the U.S. military. That's what backs the dollar. Why do you think we have a petrodollar? We have a petrodollar because we're the only nation in the world that can guarantee safe passage of transit of the flow of petroleum throughout the entire globe. Okay, we're the only nation in the world that has the capability of doing that. Okay, why? Because we have the naval vessels that can ensure that. And so in other words, the petrodollar and the world reserve currency status is backed up by the power of our military. That's the only way you ensure quote unquote world reserve status. That is a very, very expensive proposition. Like most empires, we cannot afford to maintain it. Empires fall apart because they rot from within, and it becomes evidently and eventually too damn expensive to maintain. This is what's always plagued empires, especially in the West. It's always plagued us. That's why when you look at China and Russia, especially the Chinese, they don't want to conquer anybody. Who cares?
Right,
Who gives a rat's rear end? I mean, who wants to get caught up in that headache? Okay, same thing with the Russians. The Russians are in Ukraine. They're trying to. The Russians have no need to control anybody. They are happy being Russians, and you know what? They're happy controlling their own territories and and what's historically belonged to them. They have no they don't have this imperial manifest destiny that we're obsessed with. We're following that backward, obsolete British model that ends in economic ruin. And you see how Britain is now. It went from the greatest power in the world, where the old saying was the sun never could set on the British Empire, to just where it is now. Okay, so that just shows you how far Britain has fallen. We don't need to go that route. Okay, we just need to let's America take care of America. Let's shut down the 900 military bases we have strewn about 172 some odd countries. Let's get rid of that crap. Okay, and all the costs that go along with it. Let's get back to people are, well, how are we going to fund all this? We have a $600 billion defense industry. And most of it is just pork barrel spending. Most of it is on pet projects, on failed projects that go nowhere. We don't need it. We don't need it. A lot of that reinvestment back into the economy. And look, people say, well, war is a great way of boosting the economy. Well, that's just the wrong way of looking at it. Every single major study that's been done on the economics of war will actually show you it's one of the worst ways to grow an economy. For every dollar that's spent in the Defense Department, okay, you spend that in the private sector, you get 10 times the dollars out of it. Okay, so every dollar you spend, you get 10 back if you invest in the private sector. Trump knows this. We don't need a bloated military bureaucracy. We need a lean fighting force that's able to defend our borders, that's able to defend the integrity of our national security, and that's it. Defense. I'm all about defense. Not offense and going, blowing away third world countries because they happen to have some resources that we want to get our hands on. We have all the resources in the world here. There's no need for it. Let's get rid of the stupid concept. I mean, the petrodollar is dying. It's pretty much almost dead. It's dead unofficially in my book. We're just waiting for the official, kill it. But that's it, CJ. It's going to be a whole new world, man. And again, and while all this is happening, the elites will sit there eating their $40 hot dogs, wondering what happened or how they left out in the cold.
Right, right. No, you nailed it, B, and that's why it is so important for our industries to take off. And just to put a little figures behind, what I just discussed, B, just real quick. So it's estimated that there's over $10 trillion in tax deferred savings accounts from the baby boomers. And again, that they're saying that the people from 70 and older is expected to double. So the outflows of the mandatory payments coming out of those is going to create a huge outflow gap. They're estimating over a $350 billion gap between outflows of those savings accounts. And then when you benchmark what the average millennial has saved, that's $1,000, B. So it's not going to offset that 350 billion.
Exactly, man. Exactly correct. And that's the whole entire thing. And speaking of like petrodollar, man, I mean, look at the reason why we need to end this whole ridiculous, world reserve currency. We need to put an end to this obsolete concept of a petrodollar. We don't need it anymore. Like, what's happening in the Middle East, bro? I mean, let's just talk about that real quick.
Well, right now we're seeing the ISIS vacate Syria and heading into Iraq. There's a huge battle, and it's not getting a whole lot of press coverage out there as far as the U.S. attacks and the amount of troops that obviously were there to help support the Iraqi forces. But the U.S. just did an airstrike, in Mosul, and there was an offensive that 30 civilians were killed. In fact, more civilians were killed than the ISIS forces that are there. So we're leading this front attack, and it's the right thing to do to be attacking. But the whole thing in Syria is creating a vacuum into Iraq, which is the next hotbed events that are happening there. So the U.S. that they're reporting that up to 30 civilians have allegedly been killed in an airstrike targeting ISIS commander in Mosul as Iraqi forces continue their advance into the city. The U.S. coalition is investigating whether its planes were responsible for the bombing or not, which that means that they probably were. They just use that in the massacre that occurred, which came as the UN warned of almost 50% of all casualties in the military operations are believed to be civilians. That's just crazy. 50% of all the operations involve death of civilians.
I mean, it's man. I mean, how are the Russians able to do surgical airstrikes without with the most minimal of civilian casualties? And we come in and we're like leveling whole towns, like we're dropping bombs from like a B-17 or something. Like, what the hell is going on? What happened to all that Gulf War footage of laser guided bombs? Like, what the heck is going on here, CJ? Either two things are happening. Okay, number one, this is a colossal blunder yet again, and gross incompetence yet again. Or number two, okay, this was somehow intentional, right? This was somehow intentional because this makes no freaking sense, bro. Okay, this makes no freaking sense whatsoever, and I don't get it, CJ. I really don't get it. I mean, look, UN has warned the Iraqi government's foreign supporters of the risk posed to families trapped inside ISIS-held parts of Mosul. Iraqi troops, Kurdish forces, Shia militias have advanced through much of eastern Mosul, gaining control of the key local governments and buildings, blah, blah, blah. Around 1.5 million civilians were living in the city when the operation to retake it began in October. According to UN figures, 400,000 have been freed. But ISIS is known to be forcibly displacing families as it retreats to use them as human shields, with an estimated 750,000 people remaining in the more densely populated western part. Okay, fine. These a-holes called USIS are using these as human shields. Why, in that sense, are you sending in airstrikes, knowing that the civilian casualty toll is going to be that high? Why? It's unreal, man. I think there needs to be a serious, very serious, looking into this whole entire thing.
Yeah, I think it's just a whole failed part of Obama and the military intervention he's has done in the last several years. He has this mindset that we can just bomb and use drone strikes. And again, I'm not advocating for boots on the ground. Obviously our goal is to get the heck out and obviously destroy ISIS and everything, but not continuing these unneeded wars and regime change and everything else. So the pinpoint accuracy is gone because there's limited on intel on the ground that are able to provide that, and instead they just have this mindset that, we'll just pick it up on radar and we'll just drop bombs aimlessly on these areas. And not only did we see this here happening in Iraq, but if you remember, in Afghanistan, I believe in Pakistan, where Doctors Without Borders, they've had numerous hospitals that were hit as well. So yeah, just a terrible story to think of that, and you wonder why people in the Middle East hate the U.S. military and hate them. Well, it's a lot is part because of the failed leadership of the military under Obama is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's the whole thing. It's like, this is what we've come to. We've come to the realization that, on all the other fronts that Skidmark has done for us, he's also made sure that our military is not only underfunded and stretched thin, but absolutely the bane of existence on the globe. We have become the worst thing, and yet, the peacenik Hollywood leftists love Obama. They love him, and and you know what was sickening? And there was a little off topic here, CJ, but what was sickening is that CNN this morning was running a piece on Hillary Clinton and how she's spending more time in the public life, and how there's so many pictures of her. Now there's a Twitter site called HRC in the Woods, where people go into the woods to go find Hillary Clinton. I made jokes of this, CJ. I didn't realize people would actually do this seriously, bro. I didn't realize people would actually take the time to go into the woods of Chappaqua to go find the elusive Hildebeest.
That's hilarious, B.
They're literally doing it, and I'm like, this criminal psychopath who should be in jail, who should be in Leavenworth, locked up somewhere, some federal penitentiary, riding away, her and her husband. She's out in the woods as if she's trying to somebody's told her. I'm watching this whole scripted posing with people and showing up to, children's, dance recitals. And I'm like, you disgusting piece of filth. I'm saying to myself, this is clearly scripted. This is completely scripted because HRC is trying to do a complete makeover on the image. And you're seeing these libtard New Yorkers, who again, if you're a far leftist, I'm not talking about a real liberal, but real liberals can't stand Hillary Clinton. Okay, they just can't. But these far leftists who have this incredible gift of being completely cognitively dissonant, okay, they look at HRC as if she's as pure as the wind-driven snow, because and they're all, I'm with her. They're hashtagging it. That's like the latest craze. But here's the funny thing, man. No, CNN, Earth to CNN, nobody cares. Okay, you lose the election, and you want to go, and this is why it's going to backfire. You're trying to reinvent your image because somebody told you, Hillary, that maybe you should reinvent your image and be more public and be more friendly and nice with people, because we all know the Trump administration is going to fail, and then you need to be ready to move at a moment's notice in 4 years. It's not going to happen. You're done. And again, showing you yet again, CJ, the establishment has never learned its lesson.
No, they didn't, and you're exactly right. They're trying to rebrand, HRC, just so that in the event that, and heaven help you, I hope she doesn't run for mayor or anything of New York, P. But
Jesus, please help me. Please,
I honestly think that she would look at that and say, that's beneath me. I just as pompous as she and Bill are, I don't think that she would ever do that. But yeah, you're exactly right. They are doing that. But it was interesting to see, and getting a little bit off topic, but it's something that's going to help us. V, did you see where Trey Gowdy has been appointed to the Committee on Intelligence and Oversight, the House Intelligence Committee? So Trey Gowdy, he's
I love Trey Gowdy.
Yeah, he's very aggressive and everything. So his role is going to be in part to ensure that that the intelligence offices, agencies, across are conducting themselves and doing it the right way. So that's a pretty big message right there to the intelligence agencies.
That's awesome, bro. That's really good, and it shows the fact that I am hoping something. The I think the Clinton Foundation is going to either be completely dismantled by this year. Something's going to happen.
I
There's
agree. Yep.
this idiot woman out there, this cackling hen out there, just prancing about this predator, prancing about you know Hillary HRC in the woods. Okay. Uh, Something is going to spring upon her because she thinks she can get away with this. She's got another thing coming to her, and that's what I love about this, man. They're so unsuspecting. When the hit does come, it's going to catch them sideways, bro. It's going to absolutely catch them sideways, and it's going to be hilarious to see this, without a doubt. So what's going on with Erik Prince, man, in Libya?
Well, you mentioned this a few weeks ago in terms of Libya and Russia, and I think we kind of just, it may have been on one of the Friday night shows that you talked briefly about some of the things that are occurring there. And as I was doing some research last night, this article came about from Intelligence Online, and basically what it maps out that Erik Prince, who was the former CEO of Blackwater, is conducting mercenaries that they actually have hired to conduct airstrikes in Libya. Mm-hmm. So, and again, they have these modified, they're basically hiring professional, pilots to fly these missions in there. So again, the sources are saying that Libya has confirmed the assertion, said that the pilots flying the United Arab Emirates Air Force IOMAX 802 air tractors, converted crop dusters, or mercenaries aren't Arabs. Most of them are for-profit aviators, are American, according to Intelligence Online. Prince denied involvement in the UAE air operations. Mm-hmm. A year later, on June 4th, Benghazi Revolutionary Shura Council, a group of with ties to Al Qaeda, released photos of a Turkish-made Mk-82 bomb, complete with a paveway guidance kit, a weapon associated with the air tractor. So needless to say, Prince is out there actively, supporting, the UAE in their efforts in Libya. But now what's mentioned at the end of this article, it talks about how that may quickly be coming to an end, because apparently there was a meeting that occurred with some Russian officials talking specifically about these things that are occurring. So, we might see a little bit more engagement of Russia in Libya. So I thought you'd find that very interesting, V, because I know you talked about it not too long ago.
Oh, dude, I mean, it's a pretty interesting angle here. Erik Prince's company, Frontier Group, okay? Frontier Group is based in China. Erik went over to China because it's easier for him to, to start a business. There's a lot less red tape. With that being said, even though what's happening here, that he is supposedly hired by the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, who is a rival to Saudis. Okay, they're a rival to Saudis. So the question becomes, who is Prince and his group bombing? That is going to be pretty interesting to find out. I mean, there's pictures of mercenary pilots with air patches on their arms saying Air Cargo Support Company or something like that, Air Cargo Company or Cargo Company. But they're not flying cargo planes, man. These guys are flying fighters. They're flying either crop dusters that have been converted to bomb. Some of them, I mean, we know earlier back in June, July, we had Merc pilots flying Mirage, French-made Mirage F1 fighters, so there's a lot of action here. What's happening? Well, I think if the thing is this, I mean, UAE is in support, okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, CJ. UAE is in support of the current general that's in Libya. I know that Libya's there's two factions that are fighting, and I think the UAE is what the hell's the name of that General Haftar? That's his name, General Khalifa Haftar.
Correct.
And if I'm correct, and I need to look this up, okay, General Haftar is, I believe, he is very favorable of China and Russian involvement in Libya. Doesn't want ISIS to be there. The Saudis and the U.S. are funding the other side, which is the side that wants USIS and these al-Nusra groups to be in charge in Libya. So It's going to be interesting because General Haftar's group was the same group that I think that the Russians met with, excuse me, last week.
Correct.
So interesting. I mean, we're seeing this global game being played with the Russians getting involved in Libya. You know, they're doing it very smartly. They're not committing any forces as of yet, but they're bringing stabilization and they're doing it correctly. And you know, China's doing the right thing, and the UAE is doing the right thing. Here's the deal: Frontier Group is a Chinese private military company that happens to be run by Eric Prince. Okay, that's what it is. Maybe one of these days we got to get Eric Prince on. I'd love to interview the guy, man. The guy's a
yeah, that'd be interesting.
Serious badass, just to get his take on Libya. We should get him, dude, just to have him talk about, you know, whatever. I'm sure he can't disclose too much, but you know, just the Middle East and the happenings in the world and how things change. But anyway, we'll put that on the list of things to do. But yeah, man, I think that's what's happening here. Again, you're seeing the empire chaos, the old dying Atlantis regime and their ideals just falling apart all over the world. Again, this is falling on the lap of the illustrious legacy of Barry Skidmark.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the hot topic that everybody seems to be not paying attention to, bro. And I think you know, with all the news that's going on with Trump coming into office in 2 days, Barry Skidmark saying bye bye, the rise and the fall and rise again of Bitcoin. What is on an 8-week move, my friend?
The gold, baby. The gold, the metals are moving. They're moving quickly.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, gold prices on Monday touched their highest level. Did you guys realize this? Gold prices on Monday touched their highest levels in about 8 weeks. As analysts said, the safety play was helped by fresh worries about both President-elect Donald Trump and the Brexit, both of which are going to be a reality because the first thing that's going to happen is Theresa May is going to be flying into D.C., being friends with Donald, and they're going to do everything they can to bring to reality the Brexit, giving the one-finger salute to Brussels, the bureaucrats, the kleptocrats in Brussels saying, goodbye, you losers, you thieves, you crooks, we're out. Gold briefly touched an 8-week high of just shy of 12.10 per troy ounce as a new week of trading gets underway. This is due, among other things, to strong statements made by U.S. President-elect Donald Trump just a few days before his inauguration, and to new developments with regard to Brexit. Trump's comments in recent interviews touched on China, Russia, the European Union, and more. He's slated to become the 45th president on Friday, and not a damn force on hell is going to stop that from happening, CJ. The president-elect suggested that he would be open to lifting sanctions on Russia and wasn't committed on a long-standing agreement with China over Taiwan. He predicted more departures from the EU and reiterated his past criticism of NATO. This guy's so consistent; it's ridiculous. I love it. Meanwhile, investors also prepared for a speech by UK Prime Minister Theresa May, slated for Tuesday, which she's expected to unveil her country's plans for negotiating an exit from the European Union. Last week, gold gained 1.9%, boosted by a dollar, and stock retreat as post-election enthusiasm stalled. Yeah. Okay. Again, this is what I've been saying. Dex talked about it. London Paul highlighted it. In fact, Chris Dunn even talked about it yesterday when we were interviewing him, and that is this: people are going to look for a flight to safety. People understand that the bond market is not where it's at. Don't take my word for it. Just do a stupid Google search. Okay. You could figure it out for yourself. There's a lot. And look, there are no net buyers of U.S. treasuries. Okay. There are net sellers. That's just the darn facts. Okay. So what's going to happen is they're going to look for other safe havens. There's only one safe haven, and has been a safe haven for the last 6,000 years of human economic history, my friends. And that is gold. That is gold. Okay. So, get yourself some, whether you got to go to eBay to get it or whatever, or you got to go to Jimmy John's Coin and Carry or whatnot. Get yourself some metal. It's always good to have. It's not always giving no, it's not financial advice, you morons. It's prudent investment strategy. It's actually part of any repertoire. You know, people always love to hold metal. It's having it part of a portfolio is always a wise strategy. You know, that's. I'm not saying go out and get like 90% all metal. That's no, or 100%. You know, no, just don't go broke buying hard assets. That's stupid. But anyway,
right.
Gold is
Well,
on a rampage.
it is, and if you look at, granted the dollar is up, but if you look at most of the economy or the currencies around the globe, I mean, you don't have to look much further than Mexico to see that, what's happening with the peso right now, and in China, why a lot of people are starting to take stock in gold. So, I mean, right now, as in terms of the rate where it is, I mean, it continuously happens where you see people in other countries that are buying Bitcoin, they're buying precious metals. So, and you've been talking about this for several months now. So, and here it is, and it's being reported now that some pretty big moves in precious metals.
Huge, bro. Absolutely huge. Huge moves that are occurring. And on top of that, man, okay, on top of that, uh, dollars rising. We're seeing there's a lot of things happening, man. Dollars rising, oil is falling again. Why? Because I've been saying for a long time, if you see any kind of rise in oil that's occurring, it's really on a speculative level. It's not a supply demand issue. So it's done on speculation. We have way more supply than there is demand at this point. Okay, we're seeing also the pound. Okay, the pound is slides to post-flash crash lows on hard Brexit fears. So the pound is down a little bit. So there's I mean, there's going to be forex traders. I'm not a forex trader. I don't do any of that. But I know for a fact though, there's going to be some serious forex traders that are going to be that are going to take advantage of this, man. I mean, look, I mean, we're down to $1.20, bro, on a pound. That's ridiculous. It used to be $1.50, so now it's down to $1.20, and on pro, and it's going to be a temporary pain. Okay, it's going to be a temporary pain before the pound gets back up to the typical going rate of $1.50 once this whole Brexit thing is put behind us. And also, is the Queen of England dead yet, CJ? Is she dead?
Every once in a while, she has a glimpse of life that hits the media, but gosh.
Seriously, man. I mean, my thing is like, the German Queen of England, is she dead? I don't know yet. One can only hope. Anyway. Oh my God, I shouldn't have said that. So we have what's this I'm hearing, man? With Project Veritas. What's up with those guys?
Yeah, so this was breaking, and again, I as I reviewed it and watched it, I looked to see if any of the MSM would carry it, and they wouldn't. But we look at what Project Veritas does, and they do some amazing things. And they have recently came in with a group there in DC that is planning to disrupt the inauguration. In fact, there's a particular event, I think they call it the Deplorable Ball, that they plan on committing some actions there. With so basically what happened was that they infiltrated this group. It's a DC anti-fascist coalition, and basically they're planning to use butyric acid at the National Press Club during the Deplorable during this event. So they captured video of this planning of these fascists, wanting to do these crimes, and again, they've released the video of the interview of where they were conducting these meetings and discussing it. And what's important, V, is here is also where they were meeting. They actually met at Comet Pizza to discuss it, of all places.
Oh my God. Oh.
Now, a couple of things, it didn't get reported in the MSM, and as I was looking at it, and I may get some criticism on this, but just a couple of things that I was, as I watched the secret recordings and everything, as they reported, I would feel more comfortable at the front of the video. It talks about that this particular person from Project Veritas was invited into it, but it looked like from the email that they showed on the screen that she would actually had reached out to them to begin infiltrating it. The other thing that I would have liked to seen in the video that he did produce is the actual person that's doing a lot of the coercion, a lot of the talking points around what they're going to do. So the two other gentlemen that they captured in video, yes, they're agreeing to a lot of what this person is saying, and I'm not saying that they were again, if they were truly planning this and everything else like this, yeah, absolutely, prosecuting and doing whatever. However, at the same time, I would like to have seen video of the person that was actually doing the conversation. It kind of falls back to where, how the FBI will infiltrate these groups and we're working them, and then, yeah, we'll get you the bombs, we'll get you everything needed, and they set them up far enough, and then boom, they flip the switch and the rest of it, everything, the bait and switch thing. So again, I'm not saying this is what happened with Project Veritas. I'm just saying that as I went into it, I went into it with an open mind, saying let's see how this works. But the good news is that they have turned over all information to the FBI, to the Secret Service. But in fact, regardless, this DC anti-fascist group that was planning all this activity on the National Press Club, which obviously would have been terrible if they truly would have done this, would have been an absolute crime. Hopefully that these people get arrested and they get jailed. But this speaks volumes of the anti-Trump crowd. I wouldn't even say they're anti-Trump. I think that they're exactly what they're called, anti-fascist. They are willing to kill. They are willing to disrupt. And here we go. Is this whole thing with Trump coming into office? We didn't do these things back in 08 and 12 whenever Obama came into office. So I'm glad that James O'Keefe, that he broke this.
Well, it's the tolerant far left, CJ, the tolerant far left. And my question is, why the F? Why the F did they decide to go use butyric acid?
Well, they wanted to put it in the ventilation system because they believed it would have a lot lasting effect that they believe that the event wouldn't have been able to be restarted. In other words, something happened, there's an emergency, okay, they shut down the event, and then 2 hours later the event comes back on. They felt that this would have delayed the event a lot longer lasting, that it would never have even happened that night. So again, the video's there. You can listen to the discussion, with these, but obviously, some of the things they talked about, that, they're willing to use violence, true terrorism. That's, those that use violence for political gain are labeled terrorists. So that's what they are, V.
You know what? Let's just call it for what it is. It is terrorism. It is, like, I mean, I don't know why they would use butyric acid. These guys are idiots. Like, my thing is, like, look, here's the thing. I don't know if these guys are educated or whatnot, but I know for a fact butyric acid from a nutritional standpoint. Let me just read off some. I'm just going to give people 6 health benefits of butyric acid. So if you lefties are listening, please take notes. Number 1, butyric acid is good for weight loss. So everybody that was attending the deplorable ball, you would have helped them in aiding of weight loss. Number 2, butyric acid it's good for colorectal cancer treatment. So anybody that was at the ball who was suffering from colorectal cancer, this would have benefited you. Number 3, it's good for irritable bowel relief, which I think a lot of you leftists are suffering from ever since Trump won. A lot of irritable bowel syndrome is going on. I recommend you give yourself a butyric acid, enema. It's preferably with hot boiling water. Try that. It might cure your irritable bowel syndrome. The other thing is that butyric acid, CJ, is good for Crohn's disease treatment. It's also good for insulin resistance. So if there's anybody that is attending, or if you leftists, now that you've been caught, you've been caught with your own supply, you want a great way to ditch this butyric acid that you were able to accumulate, please, besides using it as an enema, you could also inject it into your diabetic friends. It's good for insulin resistance. Anybody that's in your leftist friends, now that you've been caught by James O'Keefe and Project Veritas with your own pile of butyric acid, and any of you that are suffering from chronic inflammation, please apply this liberty. And most of you libtards, you social justice warrior snowflakes, are horrendously overweight to begin with, because you guys never leave your mommy's basement. So you're horrendously overweight. So the butyric acid will come in use for that. And in the colorectal cancer, I think for the rest of that colorectal cancer, because again, I'm still trying to figure out, CJ, what STD that Bill Clinton is dying from. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have an STD. Maybe it's colorectal cancer. I recommend taking the rest of the butyric acid and shipping it over to Chappaqua. You can just leave it out in the woods, and the wildebeest that is romping through the woods in the middle of the night will find the butyric acid and bring it back to her mate. Those are just my recommendations of what the left should do with this surplus of butyric acid that they have, CJ.
100% agree. 100% agree.
Oh my God, man. So last but not least, bro, let's talk about the one of my favorite crazy places in the whole entire world, Venezuela.
Oh my gosh.
Don't cry for me, Venezuela.
It's
because Nicolas Maduro is giving you the screw job. Don't cry for me, Venezuela. What's going on over there, bro?
Well, so we reported last week, V, how they come up with these plans, that the hyperinflation. So let's raise wages to some gosh awful amount that's going to kill jobs. So their newest thing, V, is that they are actually introducing new banknotes. Yeah. And these new banknotes, V, have quite a few zeros added on to them. And this is the way that they hope to help the citizens of Venezuela, is by putting more fiat currency in their hands. So now these banknotes are like 500 and 5,000 bolivars that they're now getting from their banks, V. So they printed this money as a plan to kind of help the citizens there, right? So they think that this is the answer, is to pump out more fiat currency to help the citizens. Isn't that crazy?
It's absolutely hilarious. And this is, again, the definition of insanity, my friend. This is at least they're doing a better job than the Indians, who are like reprinting and reissuing new currency, and it's all smudged up, the ink's not right, and it looks like counterfeit to begin with.
Right, right.
We are trying to prevent black marketing. Okay, so you're gonna put out these bills that are so reprehensibly horrible looking. At least the Venezuelan ones look pretty good. I mean, I'm looking at a photo of one right now, CJ. It looks pretty good here. It looks like I see some gold leaf in there. It looks like, it's got a picture of a woman in the back. It's green. It says 5,000 bolivars. That's great stuff, CJ. That's great stuff, man.
Yeah.
From the mind of Maduro, the sweetness, the mind of Maduro, the bus driver.
It'd be too much to have, somebody print them up and possibly have a couple jobs, but instead they import them.
Oh, God. Socialism. Socialism. I mean, what can we do, bro? What can we do?
Right, exactly.
Anywho, bro, I think that brings us to the end of the broadcast. I think we pretty much covered everything. Why don't you give it your shout-outs, bro?
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for listening in today. Very excited. It's a magnificent time to be alive. And check us out, roguemoney.net. We're doing we have a couple great interviews lined up this week. I'm excited to get them out. Some great things, some people doing some amazing things to help. And again, one of the things that we take a lot of pride in here at Rogue Money is that we're solutions based. So that's it, V. That's what I want to plug.
Awesome. And guys, I am the ape, the illustrious one, the illustrious ape. Again, signing off. And check us out on roguemoney.net. Follow us on Twitter at the Rogue Money, and get the podcast. We have oh my God, we got tons and tons of people on the podcast that listen to it, that love it. It's a great way to listen to us. So check out the podcast app on your Apple iPhone as well as your Android device. And also the news, Apple News. We're on Apple News. We're going to be on Google News as well. With that being said, and again, last minute thing to our sponsor at myfreedomnow.us. Check it out, myfreedomnow.us. If you're suffering from debt, credit card problems, bankruptcies, foreclosures, whatever the heck have you that ails you, financially speaking, check out the boys at myfreedomnow.us. You can go on there and book a call with yours truly, and we can go over your debt and get you some solutions and get the hell out of it. It's a debt elimination system. They are able to wipe your entire file and get it all cleaned up. It's all legal, it's all ethical, and it meets all the federal credit guidelines. With that being said, this is the illustrious ape and the denizen of the airways, CJ. We are over and out. Take it away, CJ.